Today's episode is brought to you by Twin City Seed Company. Twin City Seed Company provides the highest quality grass seed money can buy using the top-rated cultivars according to trials from the National Turf Grass Evaluation Program. You can use the coupon code WINTER20 till the end of January for 20% off your next order. This is their biggest discount of the year, so get out there early and grab the seed for your next lawn project. Check them out at twincityseed.com.
From landscaping to parenting, much is in store, 'cause life is so much more than cutting the grass on the Lawn Dads Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Lawn Dads Podcast. My name's TJ, your adequate DIY lawn enthusiast and host. You can find me on all things social media as @thelawndad. Today, I am very excited to have this guest on here to introduce y'all to, well, he actually doesn't need that much of an introduction. Jordan with the Lawn Tools. Thanks for joining us, man.
No, thanks for having me. This type of stuff is fun for sure. So thanks. It's awesome.
Awesome. So I have to announce, I see the gold YouTube plaque in the background. How cool is it to have that?
Yeah, no, it is cool. Like you hit the number and you see the number pop up on the analytics, but this is like for sure icing on the cake, getting that in the mail and like seeing it in person. And it's fun. They make it bigger than the silver. So this is the 100,000 YouTube subscribers.
Yep.
And that's for 1 million. And like I said, they make it bigger to make it feel more special. And it does. It is kind of cool. So that's one of those things, right? Like the flex, you add these in to any kind of an interview. You got to have it in the background to like,
well, of course,
brag about it or something. I don't know.
And I hear it's solid gold, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Solid gold. And the 10 million one, I'm pretty sure is actual like diamond that
for sure
side of your head. So,
and super heavy. Yeah. It's not plastic at all.
Right.
So tell us, you hardly need any introduction, but I think listeners kind of want to hear about you, your story, just how did you get started, and then also like what kind of grass do you have, and let's talk lawns as well. But I think most people want to hear like about Jordan. Tell us about Jordan.
Yeah, so Jordan, or I guess the Lawn Tools, as we are called, is Jordan and Aaron. So my brother and I are the Lawn Tools. The name, I just actually told this story yesterday
Nice.
to a patient, so maybe that's where I can start. I am an optometrist, so this is not. A lot of people comment on my videos and say you must be a professional groundskeeper, you must work at a golf course, and couldn't be further from the truth. I'm just a DIY crazy lawn care enthusiast, and I've just kind of been self-taught over the years and just experimented with my own lawn and gotten to the point where it is now. But so I'm an optometrist by day. I was telling a patient, it came up in conversation or whatever, but talking about the Lawn Tools and the name. They said, where did that name come from? And I was like, yeah, it's funny, actually. I don't know that I've told that story very often. My brother and I and a couple buddies did a golf tournament, like a fundraiser thing or whatever. We're not good at golf. I'm terrible at golf, but we do just go because it was a fundraiser, fun to hang out with friends. But we were trying to come up with a name. We wanted to get polos made and act all cool. And I thought it'd be funny to look more official than we, had any business looking at this golf tournament. So came up with the name. I don't know, like we spent a few days trying to come up with a name for it. And I have no idea how I happened upon it. I was just trying to think of like golf puns and like, what are different golf words? What are different things? So I was like going through like everything on my golf bag. Like, what is this? Like just the words and just tossing these around in my own mind. And I finally light bulb went off and I texted it to my brother and I was like, what if we called our team the Divot Tools? And so he said like, love it, done, or whatever. So we got polos made that say the Divot Tools. And that was our team name. So then it wasn't all that much after that. I mean, it could have been 6 months or something that we decided to start the YouTube channel. So then again, what should we call it? What is this? Whatever. And again, I don't know exactly how it popped in my head, but I was like, oh, the Divot Tools. What if we were the Lawn Tools? And then he said, yep, love it, like done. Okay. And so it was
that was it, man.
At that point. But we got started. We were in we were in 2 duplexes living on the side of the duplexes that were right next to each other. And so we shared a lawn in between the 2 duplexes. Aaron is way more into golf than I am. So he said something about wanting to make the grass really nice. Like, oh, we should really make the lawn like super nice. So we can practice our golf shot back there. And I was like, hey, I could definitely stand to practice some golf and get better at it. So sure, why not? So I said, what type of mower do you want me to get? I'll run down to Lowe's and I'll get a mower. He was like, no, not a mower from Lowe's. Like, we got to get that old school, like the type that cuts the grass really nice that they use on golf courses, but the manual, old school mower. And I was like, whatever. I mean, fine. You do it. He ordered it, and I ended up being the one to use it all the time. He didn't. With a reel mower, you have to mow way more often. So with a manual reel mower, the less often is that what the more infrequently you mow, the harder it is to mow. You are the power behind the mower. And so I was literally like just learning how this worked and figuring out that with a manual reel mower, it takes a lot more power when the grass gets overgrown. So I have videos on like old pictures and videos on my phone of me doing wind sprints in the backyard with the lawnmower, trying to get through like 2-inch tall grass and cut it down to probably 3/4 of an inch was the lowest that thing would go.
Yeah.
Anyway, and getting behind and getting frustrated, which led me to going on Craigslist and finding a true cut. Homeowner caliber reel mower with an engine on it, basically. So that was a huge step up, a game changer, and that just started the snowball rolling, because then I fell in love and I was like, oh, this is the best. So then we start following John Ware, and he actually only lives like an hour away from me, but John Ware was reel mowing his lawn on YouTube. He's the guy that started thelawntools.com. More recently sold it, but he started thelawntools.com, and he was making YouTube videos, and there was a small group of guys across the country that somehow found out about each other, and this crazy niche thing of reel mowing your grass, and there were not very many people doing it at the time. And Connor Ward out in Utah was also one that started then about the same time making videos on YouTube. And I said, well, hey man, maybe I could do that. Maybe I could, because I was just about to move into the house that I'm in right now, new sod, whatever. So, okay, I could show the process of me fixing up this grass over time. And that's when we started, was that fall, which is the most terrible time to start a YouTube
channel. The worst time
for bringing your grass anyway. So I, had like a rock in the yard that I jackhammered out for one of my early videos, and I planted bulbs, like daffodil bulbs, which we've done like 2,000 of those over the year, because every fall we plant more, and tried to figure out things to do over the winter, that were semi-interesting for lawn care.
Yeah.
And then that next spring, so that was 2019, would have been the first full year of YouTube, and fixing up this lawn, going from basically normal Bermuda grass, whatever, that was just laid as sod, to what it looks like today and having a backyard golf course.
Yeah, that's awesome. Man, that's such a cool. So you started out as the divot tools, and now you're the lawn tools.
Yeah,
that's a great story, man. So you started in 2019, and then COVID happened, and I'm assuming that's kind of when popularity just like skyrocketed.
Exactly. And not necessarily on YouTube. So started fall of 2018, did all of 2019 on YouTube, uploading to Instagram here and there. It was just pictures at the time. You just uploaded pictures, little updates. And then in the summer of 2019, probably late summer of 2019, I find out about this thing called TikTok. I want to say that TikTok bought Musical.ly, or the company ByteDance, whatever, bought Musical.ly in like early to mid 2019. That's my guess, just based on the timeline. I'm not exactly sure about that. But anyway, I found out about it probably late summer, early fall of 2019. So I started doing TikTok in the fall. Again, terrible time to start something on social media. But I had started doing TikTok maybe slightly earlier with optometry stuff, with eyes and whatever, eye care tips, contact lenses, whatever. And had grown that up actually to like 150,000 followers pretty quick. And I was like, whoa, there's something to this TikTok thing. So I was fiddling with it on the lawn tools side of it. Kind of funny, because nobody cared. It's a weird, like, there was a guy here in my town who was a dentist, and he is the Bentist. Ben Winters is his name. And he lived here and moved to Dallas since then, but at the time had like 3 million followers on TikTok. Like, I don't know, like within 6 months or something like that. Back
then, yeah.
Yeah, I went to lunch with him, and we talked about TikTok or whatever, and he was, to give me some tips, and it was cool. And then, so that was in the winter of 2019 when I went to lunch with him. And then obviously, like, went through the winter, tried to make some stuff for the lawn tools, but there was not really anything to make. So I did the TikTok iDoc thing and kept growing that channel. But then when COVID happened, we were shut down. So for 6 weeks, we weren't in the office. We weren't seeing patients. And it was weird for me to like make optometry or eye doctor TikToks when I wasn't there, and I wasn't wearing my white coat or my scrubs or whatever. Like, and I was like, at home, like, I'm going to make stuff at home. I don't know. It felt weird.
you only have so many kids and wife and all that stuff. So like you only have a limited number of eyes in your household. So
Well, right. Yeah, I don't know. I just couldn't, I don't know. I didn't feel like I was the TikTok eye doc if I wasn't in the office with like the phoropter and the microscope behind me and that sort of stuff. I don't know. It was weird. So I just didn't make any videos for that. But that was springtime, everybody, and then during COVID, out in their lawn, doing all this sort of stuff. And so YouTube, a lot more YouTube views than on old videos and then on any videos I started making. But then also TikTok blew up then in like COVID, basically.
yeah. Yeah.
And started going nuts. And then I don't know how much later Instagram started adding in reels, YouTube added in shorts, and just like basically started uploading the stuff like to all these different platforms whenever they added it onto their as an option, basically.
What was your first video that like went like out of this world, astronomically viral, to where you were just like, holy cow, this is it, man. Like this is a thing right now.
You say astronomically viral. I'm not sure like what that,
or the point to where
means.
you like realize like, holy cow, this video is going super viral. Like I'm going to start going kind of all in on this lawn tools stuff.
Yeah. And there are a couple of moments that I remember. There was one video where I was kind of telling the story of my brother and I, and like how we kind of started the lawn tools and showing how terrible the lawn looked and then how much better it was getting, like kind of the story, a storytelling thing. And that is pretty engaging for people to watch. But that one, I remember I uploaded right before my wife and I went on a date, and we went out. She ran in somewhere. So I uploaded it. We got in the car and like drove 20 minutes or whatever, 30 minutes, and like stopped somewhere. She ran in. I was sitting in the car. I pull out my phone in the car. I'm sitting in the parking lot and I like pull up TikTok, and the notifications, I think it says 99 plus is all. Yep. It doesn't go any higher than that. So 99 plus or something like that, notifications. And I was like, whoa, 99 plus. Yeah. So I clicked on it and I see all these likes and comments and everything on that video that I just uploaded. And I was like, dang, that's a lot. And then like, as soon as you could refresh, it would say 99 again. And I was like, what the? And I would refresh and 99 again and refresh and 99 again. Like within a few seconds, it would be back up to 99. It would just, as soon as it could like tick back up. And I was like, what in the world is going on? And so, you're talking like every few seconds, it's jumping up by like 5,000 views, then 10,000 views, and 20, like just going crazy all of a sudden. I was like, what in the heck is happening here? So that one was sort of an interesting one, just because that was the story. That was the first one I think that I had seen that many notifications. But the video that I remember as far as like virality, because this one was sort of across a bunch of different platforms and I didn't even share it, like other people were sharing it. So I did a Gangster's Paradise video. It was me mowing, so that's kind of goofy, right? Like this guy mowing his lawn. I basically like that one shot where I dropped the phone, where my buddy dropped the phone in slow-mo and it almost got eaten up by the real mower.
I remember that one.
I used that clip a bunch of times because that was total luck. We were just going to use the clip of it falling, but it ended up falling like right in front of the mower. It bounced right in front of the blades in slow-mo. Ended up being an amazing, amazing shot. My phone almost got like chopped for sure. It was very close. Anyway. Gangster's Paradise with just a highlight reel of me mowing and showing the short grass and whatever. And Barstool Sports, that was the first one of my videos that they shared. And I want to say they shared it on Twitter, because I had a guy at the gym, like that was on a Friday or something, let's say. And then on Monday, he came up to me at the gym and he was like, man, I got to tell you, he goes, on Friday, he said, he's in IT. So he's like, I work with a bunch of nerds. And so like all these guys are crowded around a computer, which is not an uncommon thing to like walk in and all the guys be crowded around one computer because they're showing everybody else this one thing. They're all crowded around a computer. And I can't remember what he said. They said something about a lawn, like, whoa, that guy's lawn, what kind of mower is that or whatever. And he heard them saying this stuff and he was like, I bet I know who they're talking about. So he goes over there and he goes, hey, I know that guy. And they were like, why, you know this guy? He's like, yeah, I work out with him at the gym or whatever. And so hearing like from somebody else that like everybody in their office was talking about this video and that it was going viral on Twitter, and I wasn't even on Twitter, like I didn't even have a Twitter. And so for it to be like going off on another platform or whatever was kind of like, oh wow, maybe there's something more to this. I don't know, we'll see.
Gangster's Paradise, man.
Yeah.
Gangster's Paradise. Who knew real mowing with Gangster's Paradise will be your ticket. Be your ticket to this, man. That's awesome. So for the people who are listening, what from your videos, you've actually like a couple varieties of grass. So what are you currently rocking? First off, what part of the country are you in? What zone are you in? But also like what kind of grass do you have?
Of course, you'd ask what zone, and there's like certain times where I've known that. I want to say I'm 7A.
Are you like
I don't
you're
know.
transition zone, right? Though,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, you're not specifically the
Yeah,
number, I guess.
no,
Yeah,
no one cares
transition
about
zone.
the
There you go. That's
specific
right.
transition zone.
I'm in the transition zone. Anyway, so northern Arkansas,
Okay.
and I do have Bermuda grass. When we built the house, I got totally lucky. The construction company, they put in, normally they'd put in like builder grade sod, which would probably be in most places anyway. It's probably common Bermuda, or at
Mhm.
least like a mix of like a lot of common Bermuda mixed with some type of a hybrid or something. They get like
Yeah.
whatever they can get the cheapest. I got totally lucky, and I had mostly TIF 419, which is sort of like the grandfather of Bermuda grasses that everything is kind of compared to. So it's a good one, but it's not one
Mhm.
of the like new latest and greatest varieties. And I could tell that it was different because there were a couple of rolls they used a skid steer when they rolled in the big rolls of sod when they did the lawn here. And there are a couple of rolls. There's like one big strip in the front yard and a couple of patches of common Bermuda. So I could definitely tell the difference, and they look different. Eventually, I've gotten to the point where there probably is common Bermuda mixed in there, and that's what they say. Like, if you have TIF 419, like over time, you're going to end up with it like sort of resorting back to its normal old Bermuda or whatever. So there's probably a mix of common and TIF, but it all at least looks even now, and I've gotten rid of most of the common, like the long runners and the thicker blades of grass and that sort of thing, just by mowing really short and mowing really consistently and doing all the cultural practices that are good for hybrid Bermuda. So that's all like all around the house. And then I did like an expansion project one year and seeded Monaco. At that time, didn't have sod, didn't have the money for sod, didn't want to buy a whole bunch more sod to add in. Like it's like probably 7,000 square feet over there. So I did a seed project, killed it all off, and planted Monaco on that section over there, and that turned out pretty decent too. Part of that became another TIF 419 green. I wanted to mow it shorter and actually make a green on that section. And then 2 years ago, I think it was now, renovated another like close to 10,000 square feet, like added a whole other section to my lawn, and that's all Tahoma 31. My brother lived right around the corner from me. He put in Tahoma 31. We heard about that because the Razorbacks, they went from synthetic turf to Tahoma 31. Ooh, circa 2019 then,
I think so.
something like that.
Yeah, because I think
And so he
it
got it right
came out
after.
around then. Like it was
Yeah,
fairly
yeah.
new
Well, yeah,
in
they were
2019.
pretty early on. It was this
Yeah.
new variety, and nobody really knew anything about it. So it ended up being great because they actually won Turfgrass Field of the Year like the next year or something,
Mhm.
because of the Tahoma. So anyway, Aaron picked it. My brother picked it because of that, and then I chose it for my expansion project because I saw his lawn. His lawn, the Tahoma looked amazing, so I wanted some
Mhm.
of that on my own. And that's where the second green is, and the Tahoma green functions way, way, way better than
Mhm.
my Tifway 419
Yeah.
green. That's it,
And
like,
that's what it's designed to do. I mean, part of Tahoma is it's meant to be a one-stop shop for golf courses. So you got tee boxes, you got the rough, you got the fairway, but also the greens. Typically, people have to plant dwarf Bermuda or something like that for greens to get it that short. But Tahoma sort of has like the capability of being greens height, but also tees height and fairway height and rough height. So
and at the same time being in the transition zone where it gets cold. Like our upcoming forecast is looking like we're going to get down to like -10 or whatever. Like there's some forecasts show -13. So it gets kind of cold, but in the summertime, you're right. The transition zone is maybe the most annoying place to grow grass because it gets a little bit too cold for Bermuda sometimes, like where you'll have winter kill. I have winter kill every year, which is where the viral videos come from of me fixing up dead spots in my yard. Some of that's winter kill, some of that's dog pee, some of that's fungus, a spring dead spot. But winter kill is a thing here, whereas people in like South Texas, their grass barely goes dormant. They don't even know
right.
like why is your grass brown? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Is it
And
dead?
so, but it's do what?
Is it dead?
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
it's not dead.
And then in the summertime, it gets, hot, really hot and humid. So for like ryegrass or even because I have a section of bluegrass back here, that if I watered it a ton, like I could keep bluegrass alive, but it's tougher. So it's not easy for any type of grass exactly. Like there's always a sort of like downside to any type that you pick. But
Yeah.
Tahoma 31 has a better cold tolerance, which I was telling you, I could show the logo, but they actually on their logo have a snowflake.
Nice. I didn't
So I
actually
don't
notice
know.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I was like, I didn't realize that that was like a huge thing for them. That was so big of a deal. The cold tolerance part of that they put a snowflake. At least I think that's a snowflake. It is a snowflake. I don't know if you can see that as
Nice.
clearly as like when I'm looking at
Yeah.
it, but that's definitely a snowflake. So for them to think that it's a big enough deal to talk about the cold tolerance to put a snowflake on their logo is pretty big, and that's why up north, like in Pennsylvania and even Chicago, they're talking about Tahoma 31 Bermuda grass, which is kind of insane to think that up there you could have Bermuda.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard people like in Washington grow. I mean, there's Tahoma's like sort of starting to take. That's what I have.
Yeah,
Tahoma, shout out Tahoma 31. They
yeah.
created a really great grass.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. It's great for the transition zone, like you were saying. It's also great for the South, and in some places, it's also great in the North. So if you can grow Bermuda grass, it's a great choice.
And they're not like saying Bermuda, like it's not going to stay green in the winter, but it works really well because it comes out of dormancy a little faster and a little stronger,
Mhm.
kind of bursting out of dormancy, stays, a little bit maybe later in the fall. But the biggest part of that is that if it can function and survive, it's a really great base for them to overseed for sports
Right.
turf anyway, to overseed rye to be
Yep.
green for football season or whatever. So
Yeah.
if the Bermuda
Absolutely.
grass can survive there and hold a really good root zone for all the overseeding that they do, that's what's good about Tahoma, I guess, for like their consideration up north.
Yeah. Well, perfect, dude. The story, the story's awesome. I love just hearing how people started, especially in the social media scene, especially you. I mean, having millions of followers kind of across all platforms, like that's incredible. Not many lawn guys are there, so you're kind of like you rose to the top, which is amazing. It's hilarious actually. So when I in conversation, when people are like, "Oh, what do you do for work?" and I slip it in there like, "Oh," and kind of like I do social media stuff, and I take care of lawns, and I cut my lawn really short. They're like, "Oh my goodness, did you like do like a like sand on your yard?" I'm like, "Yeah, I did that, yeah." They're like, and you got like the golf course in your backyard? I'm like, "Yeah, I got that." They're like, "Oh my goodness, I love your YouTube channel," like, and then they'll say something, and I'll be like, they're not talking about me. They're talking about the lawn. So I'll be like, actually, that's the lawn tools. Like I'm much smaller than they are. So it's funny. People will be like, oh, you did like a sand project? Yeah, you got the golf course. Yeah, no, that's the lawn tools. So
That's funny. What's
most
usually when people hear about lawn mowing if I hear about social media, someone's like, "Oh, you mow on whatever TikTok or Instagram, whatever. You mow on the internet, like so you're
yeah.
like SB mowing," and that's what everybody says. It's always
Yeah.
SB mowing, like, "Oh, like SB mowing." I'm like, "Yeah, SB." Okay, well, yeah,
Sure. Yeah.
kind of, not really, but
shout out
some of it's
shout out
satisfying like that, yeah,
Shout out SB Mowing.
yeah,
Those things
SB.
are so satisfying. He's the guy who does, if anybody doesn't know who SB Mowing is, he's the guy who does he goes up to houses, mows for free, and takes like the grass that's like 4 feet high and chops it down and does it all in like super fast clips. Super
Mhm.
satisfying.
Oddly satisfying, yeah.
Oddly
Overgrown
satisfying.
grass cleanups, yeah,
Yep.
fixing up overgrown
Um,
properties and overgrown sidewalks, but.
Yep. So this part of the podcast, we want to answer some questions from viewers, from listeners, just things that pertain to lawns. Because this podcast, I do want to help people with their grass, make them have at least 10% better grass. Also, at the end, we'll be covering the 10% better parenting and dad advice that we'll have. But I've got 2 questions for us to cover today. So first one is coming from Steven. This one actually is from Instagram. Steven, so just this past year, I resodded with Tahoma 31. Perfect.
Nice.
Nice choice. And bought a greens mower. I'd like to have an area cut down short like a green, but right now the area is a little too lumpy and I don't think that is near as flat as it should be. What is your best advice on getting it to a point to where I can use this mower? I know top dressing is probably the answer, but anything I can do before springtime to help. And I'll lead this off. First off, having a backyard green is tough, and I thought this was a great podcast to bring up backyard greens because both of us have one. But having a backyard green is not the easiest thing in the world, especially if you want it to putt. Sort of like a golf course. I mean, these people make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and their budgets are millions of dollars to make these greens on the 10 or 11 or 12 or 13 speed rating scale. So first off, if anybody's thinking about getting a green in their backyard, it's not easy. Be prepared to spend a lot of time out there, but also be prepared to maybe it being like a 6 or a 7 on the speed scale, not what you're used to, like a 10, 11, 12, 13. Unless if you have an unlimited budget, it's not going to put exactly like a golf course green. They spend a lot of money and time on that. And there's honestly no way for you as a homeowner. There might be a way, homeowner, to get it to like championship speed and perfect green heights. There is a way.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of years down the road. So if you're trying to do it in like years 1 to 5, it's going to be very, very, very tough and time consuming. And you better not have more than a kid to do it. So I'm going to start off with that is it's not easy. So this question, don't be hard on yourself. If you're that first year, you're like, man, it's just not like turning out to be a green. Stick with it, but also know it's a very hard task. So Jordan, I'm going to let you add on to that, but also maybe help answer this question.
Yeah, to add on to that real quick, my cousin just like last week group messaged my brother and I, and he was like, "Hey, I'm thinking about making a putting green in the backyard. Any tips?" Or like he was just like, "What should I do?" And I was like, "Oh, are you like?" I guess my first question is always like, "Depends. How far do you actually want to take it? Like, are you wanting to go all in and like mow it every day, or are you talking like, oh, it'd be cool to have a backyard putting green as long as it doesn't take too much work?" Because that's you have to gauge what somebody means when they say that. Like, I want a backyard putting green. And he was more on the lines of like, oh yeah, no, I don't really care to like buy a specific mower and do all that or whatever. And I was like, well, he was like, couldn't you do it with the normal mower? And my short answer, I was like, no. That's the like,
Not
I don't
really.
think you can get anything that you would want to putt on with a normal mower. Like I don't know what your standards are, but in my mind, no, you can't do it with a normal mower. You're gonna have to buy a greens mower. So anyway, and I said, I mean, there are companies out there that build synthetic turf greens that look really cool. I follow one on Instagram called Back Nine Greens, BNG Luxury, I think, and there's some beautiful stuff that they put in, and they make backyard chipping greens, putting greens, whatever. That looks super cool. And so that's what I told him. I was like, if you actually want, like, because he's got kids, and I was like, I don't know if one of them's getting into golf or if you just want to practice golf, but like, if that's the reason, that's the direction I'd probably go, because I work on my grass so much that I don't have time to actually practice golf out there.
Right.
I'm not any better at golf. I'm probably worse at golf than I was when I started all of this, because I never have time to actually play golf. I'm always mowing. I'm always cutting the grass. So,
and yeah, that's what people ask, like, oh, you must be so good at golf because you got a golf green in your backyard. Like, no, I'm actually better at taking care of a golf course than I am playing it. So
right. Yeah, I don't have time for that.
No.
It's hilarious. So, okay, yeah, as far as like something to do before springtime, I mean, you could, but I don't know. I would wait. So basically, once the grass starts growing again, pretty heartily, you can put sand down, and your Bermuda will grow through it. It will spread through it. But if you want it to recover as fast as possible, you want to wait until the grass is growing as fast as possible. And so whenever the temperatures heat up and you hit the 90s, like maybe a little sooner than that, you could do it. But it also depends on how thick you want to put the sand. Because if you go like in March, depending on where you live, put down a bunch of sand where there's like 3-inch deep pockets of it, it's going to take a long, long time. And if you have kids, like you're saying, like it all depends on what's going on at your house. But like my kids, there's no way they would leave a like pool of sand alone long enough for grass to grow in there for it to stay smooth if I left it there for a month. So like the goal is to get it to grow through that sand as fast as possible. And that happens for me, like July when it's as hot as possible, pushing it with the fertilizer and everything. So that this year kind of stinks. It's one of those, you almost have to write off like most of your year, because like if you're just starting out with this and your grass isn't super thick to begin with, when it greens up at least halfway and you go scalp and you're mowing it regularly, and then you go cover it up with sand, and if there's some deep pockets where there's again a 3-inch dip and the grass is going to have to grow in, it's going to take a little while. So your lawn is just not going to look perfect this year.
Yeah,
depending on how even it is, but
a lot of ground under repair. If you want to go golf terms, ground under repair, a lot of it for the first year, even the second year. I mean, and I did respond to this guy. I said you could probably roll it, so you could rent or buy a used, maybe roller, one of those ones that you fill with water. Those are like 300 pounds. Take your real mower and just like go over it a lot after it rains when it's wet. So Can you do something now? Maybe. And that would be not putting sand on it, but maybe rolling it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, that first year is doing your first base layer of sand, but just knowing that it's not going to be perfectly flat. You're still going to have to keep on doing that. I mean, even golf courses, they're putting light layers of sand like at least once a month on their greens. So there's no like easy way to have a golf course in your backyard. You're always going to be working on it. So if you want to do that, just know that it's just gonna be a lot of top dressing, a lot of leveling. I mean, it's a lot of work, but worth it, because then people come over. You can have tournaments. You can have little tournaments that you run. I did a couple of them last year. I know you probably have. So
We've never done a tournament. We talked about it, and I'm in the process of possibly not in the process, but I'm in talks of possibly moving. So that's where it's like, we thought maybe we'll move like it last year. It was like right there. And I was like, well, it might be this year. And then I was like, oh, okay, maybe not this year. So maybe this year. And like now it's this constant, like, I don't know exactly what's going on. So I don't know how much more work I want to put into this lawn.
yeah,
If this isn't the forever home, like,
yeah,
I don't want to spend much more money on doing
Yep.
this one. But the miniature golf course, though, every year is like for sure the most fun thing, and everybody gets to come over and play miniature golf, and it's like, I love it. That's my favorite project every year. That probably gets the least amount of love is like putting sand on my lawn. Everybody, like, those videos go nuts. And everybody's like, what, this is crazy, whatever. And then I make an 18-hole real grass miniature golf course, decorate it all up for my kid's birthday, and it's just like, okay, whatever.
1,000 views.
I'm like, okay, but I keep doing it anyway because that's my favorite project. Like, that's what I feel like my lawn is all about, is like fun for the kids and fun like for family and friends and whatever. And that project that day like exemplifies that more than anything else that I could do on my lawn. So that's my favorite thing that I ever do, and we do it every year because of that.
Yeah.
Even though it just totally flops on YouTube every single year.
And it's funny too, like, so people, whenever a video goes viral, especially lawns, they're like, oh, you must not let your kids play on it and all that stuff. But yet like, you literally have your kids playing on it at all times. They just never see those videos because they just don't reach that portion of viewers.
I like to think of our lawns being, so like, we are the superintendents of our backyard golf courses, right? And so most superintendents on their golf course, they have to clean up after the golfers. Like, they're constantly repairing what the golfers screw up all the time. Divots, I mean, just anything you can think of, golf cart traffic, like everything that the golfers screw up, they have to fix it, and they have to make the grass recover from that. Well, the members here at my backyard country club are my family and my kids, and I am constantly cleaning up after the kids. One of the biggest things is like mulch out of the mulch beds that gets kicked onto the grass. And so I can't walk around my house without stopping to like kick mulch back into the mulch bed at least 10 times. Like, I'm constantly kicking mulch back into the mulch beds.
Always something.
Yeah, and then toys out there and divot, whatever, just little bare spots because they hacked it with a shovel, or they put sand because my sand trap is also the kids' sandbox, and so they bring a shovel full of sand and just dump it in the middle of the grass, and so I'm over there, okay, let's just spread that out. Like, I mean, just constantly cleaning up stuff from the kids. So they're the members of the backyard golf course, and
how much you charging them?
Almost cleaning up after them. Yeah, I need to start charging them.
Yeah, you do, man. Right now they're costing you way more money than what it's worth. Yeah. Awesome. So hopefully, Steven, that helps you. Definitely top dress. You're on the right track. So top dressing for sure. But just know it's not going to be a fast overnight thing. You're not going to be putting like the Masters in July. But it's super worth it because when friends come over, it's a great time. It's an awesome time. It's a great thing having a home green because you can do a lot of fun things with it. And it's cool. It's cool to have a backyard green. So second question, this one's from Hunter. He says, hey, Lawn Dad, I have a few bare spots in my yard that I am thinking about putting seed down in the spring. What type should I get?
Those are frequent questions, right? And so
I get a lot of questions.
What type of grass do you have? Where do you live? That's what you have to figure out first before you can just say, oh, this is the answer. Because so did you find out what
this is? So this is Bermuda. Yeah, he does have a Bermuda. Yep.
Bermuda. And then, then trying to find out, do you know what type of Bermuda you currently have? And so most people, if they're
no idea,
getting started, they have no idea. And that, to their credit, I wouldn't either. Like, it's really tough to find out. So that's not like, oh, you stink at lawn care.
You should know
what type of grass you have. So it bare spots. Yeah, I'm not much for like seeding. People do overseeding. maybe there's a place for that. But if you seed bare spots, so like for example, in our Tahoma 31, if we had some bare spots and we took some seed, it's in my mind. So you have common Bermuda, you have seeded Bermuda, and they call it sometimes hybrid, and then hybrid. So like that's, you separate those out. And so seeded Bermuda can look better than common Bermuda, but not the same as true like hybrid Bermuda grass. And true hybrid Bermuda grass doesn't come in any seed; it's sterile, so they don't sell seed for Tahoma 31, for example.
Right.
So what and again in the videos, plugging is like something I do all the time, like wearing these goofy shoes right here and taking plugs of grass from an area that's less conspicuous, and putting it in those places where it'll spread and fill in any of those bare spots. So either plugging with a plugger like the Pro Plugger, I have a Corona Square plugger, I have a Hex plugger. Those are super expensive. That's like what a golf course would use. Even like a soil profiler, like a soil probe or an aerator, you could do little tiny plugs. Just make sure you water them really well in that spot for the first little while, because the little plugs will dry out a lot faster and die instead of spreading into the bare spot.
Yeah. And wait, you have plugging videos?
One or two.
One or two. Yeah. No, that's exactly right. So whenever somebody asks me like, oh, I'm thinking about overseeding, or I'm putting seed down on my bare spots, that was actually when I first started, I thought that as well. Like, oh, I need more grass to grow there, so I need to find seed, and I'll go to, Home Depot or something like that and find seed. It may not even be Bermuda seed. I may just buy like a patch filler seed, and I have no idea. So that's when you have Bermuda is self-repairing. Bermuda will grow sideways, especially with the right watering, with the right mowing, and with the right fertilizing. Bermuda will self-repair and grow sideways. Much different than like a fescue will. A fescue very much so grows from root to tip, and it doesn't spread sideways. Bermuda grows sideways. So if you have bare spots, like Jordan was saying, you can plug it from good spots in your yard to that empty bare spot. So seeding, especially if you have a Tahoma 31 or you don't really know what it is, if you were to seed that one individual spot, kind of like you were saying at the beginning of the podcast, is you had a bunch of common Bermuda thicker blades, it just looked a little bit different. That's what you're going to have. If you get a seed that's different from the rest of the grass in your yard, it will grow and be fine. But once you get further into lawn care, and once you get better at taking care of your grass, you're always going to hate it, because that little spot that you overseeded some common Bermuda in is always going to look different. It's going to be a different shade. It's going to be a different thickness of blade. And it's a vanity thing.
And it might even spread and like become a bigger spot of common Bermuda over time.
And it's
depending on how you're mowing and everything.
And it's gonna potentially look like you have like a weed in your yard, but really it's just common Bermuda versus very thin hybrid, highly, I guess,
genetically modified,
grass. So first, if you don't know what you have, look into pluggers. You can literally plug good parts of your yard into those bare spots, and that grass will start growing. It's like free seed. You don't even have to spend any money, just the money on the Pro Plugger. That's it.
And then you just fill that where you took the plug out, fill it with sand or dirt, whatever, but fill it with sand, and the grass will fill that spot back in from the surrounding Bermuda super quick. You don't have to worry about that spot. That bare spot's going to be small.
And then if you really want to go seed, or you just have no idea what kind of grass you have, and maybe it is that common Bermuda, you can look at like what Jordan did, is like a Monaco seed, and you overseed the entire yard. So then instead of those little spots of like different Bermuda with your other Bermuda, you can just overseed the entire thing, and that's also an option. Or if you just want to start over, you don't really know what grass you have, and you can overseed the entire lawn, because then it's going to look a little bit more uniform than just doing individual spots. So Hunter, hopefully that helps you out. And as you heard from the beginning of the podcast, our sponsor is Twin City Seed Company. So if you are looking for seed, if you are looking for that Bermuda seed that is going to be very highly rated and not something from a big box store, which is filled with junk, twincityseed.com is a great source for it. They have Monaco, like what Jordan was talking about. They have Pan Am. They have a lot of really good brands of Bermuda. It's going to be very high quality, 99% seed, as opposed to Home Depot stuff, which is like 10% seed and 90% junk. So it's just gonna be a little bit better quality, a little bit better seed for you. So check them out for sure. So hopefully that helped you out, Hunter. Hopefully that helped out listeners who are thinking about putting seed down on just individual spots. So, so to wrap it up, this has been a great time, Jordan. I've enjoyed this. To wrap it up, I always say on my podcast, this podcast is meant to help you be a 10% better lawn care enthusiast, DIY lawn care dude or person. But also, I would love to help people out with their dad life, their parenting life. So I always ask the guest at the end of the podcast for the official dad hack of the week. So Jordan, I hope you've got a good one for us. What is your your dad hack of the week?
I'm stealing mine from my wife. This is my wife's idea, so I can't like claim that I was like, I was the one that came up with that. But it's
so
been
then
amazing.
It's a parenting hack of the week. Perfect.
Parenting hack. Yeah, that's right. That's true. That's true. But she stole it from another one of our friends. So like, I think she went over for a play date, some of our other friends, and it was cold outside. They had a handful of kids over there, and they open up like the garage door, and there's a bounce house in their garage. And so the kids are all like jumping around on the bounce house in the garage or whatever. And so my wife was like, that's amazing. We need a bounce house for the garage. And so there's different materials that they make bounce houses out of, and you can get them decently cheap actually. But like this may be a more expensive parenting hack, but worth it. We've had the same bounce house for, I think we're going on like third year now, I think. And so for times like right now when it's super cold outside and you can't take the kids outside and they're running around like crazy and they need to burn off some energy, our friend, and then some of our other friends actually did this. Like last week, she sent a picture, she put a video up on Instagram of their kids jumping on the bounce house in their living room.
Yeah.
Like blow the thing up in their living room. And so they're not cold, obviously, but they can burn off some energy and it's tons of fun. So we have a bounce house that we blow up and put in the garage from time to time.
Nice.
And could have put it in our living room if it was even too cold in the garage too. I think we've done that before, I guess.
Yeah.
But.
Yeah. Our neighbors, actually, funny you say that. Our neighbors, they got that for their kids on Christmas Day. So we go over their house on Christmas Day just to hang out. And yeah, they've got a bounce house in their living room. They kind of pushed out. So that's a huge dad hack. That's a huge parenting hack. I don't even know the cost of them. You could probably find like a million different ones, but.
Right. Oh, sure. I mean, because like I said, I don't know the materials. I couldn't tell you. I just know there was like a material that was cheaper, like any of them that are made out of nylon. I don't even know if I should say, like, I'm not sure if I tell you, but this material, they're always like a little bit cheaper, but for just like, the normal homeowner that's just using it every once in a while and not like renting the thing out or whatever. Cause you can get them the same material as the ones that they're like renting out that you find at a state fair or whatever. But there's like ones that you can just have in your house that are thinner. They're, more likely to get poked a hole in, but you're not using it as much. You're putting it in your living room. It's not likely to get like messed up by a stick or a random whatever.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, if you need your kids to burn off some energy, it's cold outside, look into small bounce houses. That's a great hack because after my kids went on it, and I'm sure your kids too, they're like exhausted.
Oh yeah. No,
screaming, bouncing.
I burn off energy in there too. Ours has a little basketball hoop up in the corner. And so I can burn off some energy. I can get in ours and bounce around with the kids and it works just fine. And so we play basketball in there and my kids love it.
That's awesome, man. Well, great hack, great parenting hack. That's also something to do over the winter when it's cold and it's just, or nasty outside. Grab a little bounce house, man. That's awesome. Well, Jordan, is awesome to having you on here. It was such a pleasure talking with you, hearing about your story. I'm sure listeners are very, very excited to see that you're a guest on here, and just thankful for your expertise, just chatting over those questions, but also just keep on doing videos, man. I think everybody loves it. So to wrap it up, Jordan, you've got the floor. Where can everybody find you on social media platforms?
We are the Lawn Tools everywhere that we are. So what is that now? Facebook, like you mentioned before. So TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. I'm technically on X now, but I haven't figured that one out. I don't really know what people want on X.
Same with Threads. I don't know.
I'm there. Yeah, Threads is. I don't post anything to Threads. I went on for like a day and I was like, hey, there's something here. And then like everybody else, just never mind. This is not where I would be. I think I'm on Snapchat.
Nice.
Again, same thing. It's like, this is all new and there's different stuff and different features. And so that's what part of this is, like juggling, like trying to upload a different video to TikTok because they want stuff to be over a minute. And then, people on Instagram might not want it to be a minute long. Anyway, I'm figuring all this out. And so I'm experimenting with a lot of different things, but like the main ones are Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube probably.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for joining us. You heard where you can find him. If you have any questions for the next podcast, definitely shoot me an email at thelawndad'semail@gmail.com. And we'll be sure to answer those questions on the next podcast. If you know of a guest that you would like to have on here, definitely send them my way. Tag them in any of the posts I do about podcasts. I'd love to interview them, especially if you would like to listen to them or think they would be interesting, like Jordan. So thanks for joining us today. Hope you have a good rest of the day, good rest of the week, and we'll talk to you next week. Thanks, guys.
Have a good one, everybody.